Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. So I recently had a birthday, which is a lot, and it was kind of ironic or funny because like a few days after my birthday, whenever I went on the cptsd subreddit, there was the question I saw, which was like the most popular question at the time, was who else HATES their birthday, right? And the HATES was all caps, and I went there looking to see if I could find anyone else that sort of related to my but nope, it was a lot. And if I had found that post any other birthday or year other than this one, I for sure would have been like, right? Like, oh, right, crack. Do I got stories, right? But as I mentioned in a previous, the Whataburger mukbang, where I purposely do not say certain things, and I've always been that way, so I don't even know if I ever would have written anything like that. But for all intents and purposes, I definitely can relate, right? I definitely would have been like, reading and, the aggression and all that would have surfaced, all the reactive, what I call them as like the reactive. But I recently had a birthday. I'm not going to cry in this video. I've learned in other previous videos that whenever I take pauses, that helps with the whole like not crying. But I recently had a birthday and it was amazing. Insert what would have been Pauline starting to cry or get watery-eyed. But it was so amazing. It was so amazing. It was so beautiful. It was so perfect. Pause. And for a long story short, the biggest moment was a few days before my birthday. I had something planned already. Something was already planned. And about a week or so before it actually happened, I was like, you know what? I'm going to just like, right? No, I don't want to do this anymore. Right? For whatever reason, that was the emotion that came up. It was like just frantic. Like, again, I've mentioned in previous videos, the intuition versus impulse. And I feel like impulse is very like right now, very like immediate, almost like a dread to it. And intuition is more of like, this feels good, this feels so amazing, this, if anything, it's energizing me. It's not taking away, it's providing me with so much, like, oh my gosh, like this is an amazing idea. And it doesn't matter if it's right now or next week or next year or 10 years even, whenever it's going to happen, it's going to be so beautiful, it's so amazing. But a week or so before my actual birthday, it was like I got this frantic, like, I don't want to do this, never mind, like whatever, who cares, like very like dismissive. I don't know the technical terms for all of this, but the thing where you start to withdraw, that had happened. And then pause, right? That always helps. So if you are an individual who gets really emotional quick from our advertisers or whatever, even though it's just me, pausing, I've learned, helps. So let's just say you're in a situation, because it is really common for those with cptsd to, like, it's a lot. We go through a lot, and there's a lot inside of us. So of course something's going to seep out whenever there's something else happening. So whenever there's an intense conversation happening, even if it's not even that big of a, it's really common for us to get the watery eye and to shut down even, and sort of like, but you see that? Just 1, 2, 3 in your head, just count, right? And it's okay. You can take a pause like that, right? That's totally normal. I just did it again to like emphasize the fact, but it was amazing. And a week before, I was going to cancel, and then it was like, no. So then I didn't. And then around that time, I remember this thought of like, I want to say something along the lines of, my birthdays are always like this, something like that. except it was probably more negative, and it was probably something I felt more than I actually could say in words or anything like that. But it was like my birthdays are always blank, right? Like, not good. They're always. And in this moment of whenever, I don't even know what that is. I don't know if it was, I don't know what it was, but again, like, it was just something that came up. Well, like, my birthday's always like, ugh, right? But again, being like the observer, because I feel like in a lot of my videos, I don't think I've specifically said that, but I'm reading The Power of Now right now. So it's like, I believe he keeps referring to it as the observer, I believe, which is like Pauline saying, oh, my birthdays are always blank. But then the thing that's above, right, the sort of like, wait a second, did I just say that? So then you have that voice on top of the voice that just spoke. So the one that's more of like, oh, okay. So when you meditate, and for me at least, when I visualize the clouds moving, I become more of like the sky than the actual cloud. So again, like this idea or theme of the observer, or however you want to phrase it. Sometimes I call it like switching from like first person mode, like on a game, to a third person mode where you can see yourself playing. It's very different experience when you're like this compared to like, oh, okay, right? I'm throwing a lot of ideas right now, but it's all the same thing, where I feel like it was more of my body that kind of gave me the sentiment of my birthday's always blank, right? Like, not good. If anything, it's stressful. If anything, it's overwhelming. If anything, it's bad. And I was able to also recognize lots of shame coming up during this time. So days before my birthday, where it's like I did something, like I drove to the store, I did something random, or whatever. And then I would start to feel so much like shame, like I did something wrong, like I did something I wasn't supposed to do. And it was like it kept popping up randomly, because I feel like, I believe it was like last year or so when I first learned about toxic shame, and that was such a huge game changer. And if you have yet to understand and read about toxic shame and how it's internalized specifically in individuals, children, during our developmental years, with the abuse and neglect and all of that, go ahead, look into that. Just internalized toxic shame versus the type of shame that an individual should learn, right? You do something bad, hey, I don't feel so good. That's good. You're not supposed to, right? Correct behavior, continue with your life, feel good stuff now, right? Just do stuff to make you feel good, and everything's gonna be all right. But again, mini lesson with the cptsd and all of that. As children, let's say you're just being yourself, like, hey dad, like, look at this, and he smacks something out of your hand, or smacks you, or tells you to, or whatever. Pause, right? So I don't get all watery-eyed. So now you, as a child, you've learned essentially being myself, right, leads to shame, leads to punishment, leads to, and as a child, right, who thinks like my parent has the best interest for me, right, because he created me and I love you, right, even though, you know, whatever. And so yeah, you essentially just learn like over time, like you can't be yourself, you have to hide. Hence the previous video I mentioned where I'm no longer masking. That was a huge journey in itself. But, and I believe that was all like, all glory to God for when I started making my YouTube when I did, because so much has happened where, and it all started with my alignment, and I'm going to get back to the point of the video, but everything that has happened for me has been so like something will happen, and then because of that, something else is able to add on. And I'm not, of course, every journey is so different, and God will provide you with anything that you like, anything and everything that you need is already it's already here. Everything already, it's already here. He already provided you with everything you will absolutely ever need, ever. Right here. But the whole like, oh no, I'm no longer masking, the taking time away, and then, you know, when I typically would show up, that's what I mentioned in that video, I typically always show up to events. I'm always the person that's always there, like, you can bet on me, like. But then I took some time to be like, wait a second, because I didn't, for some reason, beginning, I believe of this year, I didn't feel like doing everything. And for the first time ever in my entire life, I wasn't doing everything that I typically would do, which again is so different, and everyone's different. But always go with what you feel. I believe there should be some element of pushing yourself out of your comfort zone appropriately. And but for sure, that one land, like that, like no longer masking. So then I was able to be more vocal during my birthday, before, during, and after, where typically maybe I wouldn't have said something. I wouldn't have, it's like, oh, like that's too much, or like you can't, or, and again, everything we've learned as children, like, not, if anything, most of it is not correct. You're not bothering anyone when you ask something small. You're not asking for too much, but having a preference. You're not, there's so much stuff to learn. But a few days before my birthday, something came to me where it's like, my birthday's always this. And then the observer sort of came out, or I didn't even know what it was. But it's like, well, let's learn from that, right? Because maybe I wasn't in a space before to feel that. Maybe it's what I always felt, but because I've been disconnected most, right, of my life, it's like, okay, right, you have a message, but I'm not receiving it. Well, it came up again this year, and I want to say for the first time, I was able to receive it, and almost instinctively, it was like, wait a second, if all of my birthdays are like this, overwhelming, stressful, shame, not good, then maybe there's something else at play that I can't see. All the trauma. And another sentiment that I've came across before is your body remembering things when you particularly maybe don't, which sort of piggybacks right on the idea of your body storing trauma. And not for nothing, right? I have experienced this, you may have as well, where certain days you just wake up way more intense than when you fall asleep. When you fall asleep, everything was gravy. And I experienced this recently, where I fell asleep, I had ideas, I couldn't wait, I was excited, and then the next morning when I woke up, it was so foggy, I was so lethargic, and my body was just hit by something. So going back to that post of, and does anyone else HATES their birthday, and all those types of responses, and you know, when you think about your own birthdays, right, which I did after I realized all of this. So yeah, let's go back and look, right, and take inventory really quick. It's like, well, mom would use any excuse, including my birthday, as a way to celebrate her. So let's think about that. Let's think about all the birthdays where your mother put on a big performance and asked you. It's like, oh, what do you want to do for your birthday, right? It's your birthday, girl. What do you want to do, right? And then you reply, even though, let's say, she's never paid attention to you before, but for some reason, God has put this courageous, brave, ability in you, where it's like, even though mom's attacked me every other, even though it never goes right for me, even though, right, she's never given me any reason to think she's ever gonna take me seriously or respect anything I say, or take anything I, with value, or despite all of my life of that, right, for some reason, I remember almost every year, just like Captain America, I can do this every year, where it was just I'm ready, I know what I want this year, right? Because again, I used to be mute, I used to have severe, really, really bad social anxiety, I used to have a stutter, I used to not be able to articulate or enunciate or all that, pace myself even. And then I would be ready, and then I would say something, and then as usual it was ridiculed or shut down or met with criticism or met with something that, I'm tiny, but you're attacking me for some reason. And you created me. And we're supposed to celebrate my birthday. So needless to say, yes, it was the message I got was, who cares? Who cares, right? And a lot of what I read in that post was oh yeah, I just feel so WORTHLESS, right? I feel so, right, Like I just want to, you know, hide. I don't want anyone, I don't want no attention, right? Because again, like the attention we did get, not so great. The feelings we did get as children, shame and bad stuff, like, okay, not so great. And again, like if you're so used to, like, let's just say you are courageous enough as a tiny little individual where you've been knocked down every other birthday and every other day and every time your mom's around you and every time you try to share anything special, it's like, nope, who cares, like whatever. But then this year you're like, oh, it's gonna be different, right? Like maybe mom's different, maybe this and that. And then you go up there and you swing, and it turns out the pitcher was just laughing. You didn't throw about you. Like you really thought like I was gonna like consider what you, right? I'm not gonna go into it because you can imagine, right? You can fill it in with your own experiences and think about it. All I'm saying is this is the first birthday where it was so amazing and so beautiful, and it was just perfect. I want to say the first half of having this amazing, beautiful birthday was the ability, and everyone's different, so you know, how did this come to be? I don't know. I just know that I was feeling my feelings, as I always encourage. Always feel what you feel. Don't ever shut yourself down. I feel like in this space we've been shut down way more than, so no no. Then it was, yeah, this sentiment of like, oh, my birthday's always. And then it was like, well, if they always, and you know, and you're showing up, you know, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, so then what else is at play here that's gonna make this so? And that's when I realized, with the whole your body knowing trauma being stored and all of that, it's like I think that comes up every year, right? And if anything, it just marinates, right? Because has anyone come to me and apologized? Has anyone, right? You know, it's like, no, if it's just sitting here, right? Ding. And the whole message of like, I'm not worth like celebrating, and like my, you know, again, I'm not going to go into it. You can imagine. But the first part of my birthday this year was so freaking amazing, was because I believe I was able to recognize that. So meditation became a priority. Extended meditation became even more priority. Typically when I meditate, I always wait for that feeling, because it's really common for me, at least, because I can get into the meditative state so fast, if not simultaneous, like just I'm in it. But I like to sit and wait till I get to a point where I'm just like completely immersed with the experience. And that sometimes, like, the moment I find myself being even like, when am I going to be done with this? It's like, okay, we just added 20 more minutes. It's like, okay, right? Because I don't. So all I'm trying to say is, for my birthday, we did even more than that. We sat even longer, and we implemented more of positivity, more good, more of, right? Because if you feel a certain way on your birthday, you're going to feel a certain way. I'm not saying to suppress that, right? Because I do remember it was either my birthday or the day before, I woke up and it almost felt like I was running a marathon, but I was asleep. And I woke up and it was just like frantic sweating. My heart was like going so fast, and it was like, okay, I think I know what's happening. Like, it's the, right, all this. Because again, when you're so tiny and you go through so much, your body, and it never comes out, I feel like your body just, okay. And so, yes, I woke up that morning and I gave that enough attention so I could feel, and my heart rate can go down. So there was a physical component in addition to the sort of spiritual, emotional. And then I just sat there for a very, very, very long time until I felt that absolute, just like that beautiful feeling I get towards the end. And I believe that's another reason why my birthday was even more amazing, was because I was able to, because not for nothing, that was not how it was last year. And I don't want to talk too much about this, about details and all of that, but I did go no contact with my parents about 2 years ago. And the first year, at least as I remember it to be, it was like I went no contact, but I didn't block them, so I was able to still receive messages from them on my first birthday. And I remember, even though I went no contact with them, there was still a bit of me that was kind of hoping, right? Because they created me, and they knew that, because I had blocked them at first and then I unblocked them to sort of be like, okay, this is your final, sort of like, watch it, right? It's like, okay, I'm no longer going to send you nasty messages, but they're still, you know, they were still able to send me happy Easter at least, or something like that. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but there was still like something open for them to communicate with me with. And on that very first birthday, 2 birthdays ago, even though I was in no contact, it was like, you can still message me. And I want to say the small me was hoping, right? Was hoping so much, but then it didn't happen. And I remember like actually blocking my parents, I want to say within a few months after that, because they had continued to show an inability to take any responsibility for anything. And it was almost like they were talking to their neighbor, like they went on vacation and they came back 10 years later like, oh hey, so how's it going? What? And so I allowed that for like, I guess, a year, just to see, right? And I never responded to any of those. I just wanted to see, like, let's just see what happens, right? But I never got the message that I felt I should have received, quote unquote. And then just for my own sake, even though I've forgiven my parents and, you know, all of that, it was like, okay, I'm gonna block you now, because I can't spend another birthday where I'm like waiting, like, oh gee, like I wonder if they're gonna tell me anything now, right? Like this year, or no, like we're not doing that, right? You did that last year, right? It's cool to try stuff, and if it doesn't, you know, whatever, let's try something else. And so I remember last year, I think was, yeah, the second birthday I had where I went no contact, but it was the first birthday where there was absolutely no no. And last birthday was what it was supposed to be, but I do remember being in like agony and being in so much, like, I guess, pain, and being so hurt and so low and so weak and so frail. I just remember, like, and then just being so like limp even, and just having no, like, there's nothing, like I'm just so like just. And even though it was my birthday, and even though I was crying, and even though I could have, you know, X, Y, and Z, I remember at the time feeling like I have to feel this. And so I felt it. And this birthday, it was like, because again, I feel like I do take my time processing, and I do take my time with stuff, and I'm not going to force or push or try to expedite anything. Like, no, that's how I chose to do that. Right? Like, I'm gonna no contact with you, right? I already blocked you. I'm gonna unblock you now, so you know you can still have contact with me, but just know, right, it's thin ice. And then, howdy neighbor. It's like, what is this? Like, this isn't like, it's like, okay. And then that first birthday, everything was already planned, and I feel like I was still kind of like not connected with my body, so I was, you know, it was still like in and out. And it was a wonderful, beautiful birthday that year. But again, like that following one, last year was like nope, like blocked, like, you know. And then I just remember crying and being in so much pain and just feeling a bunch of stuff. And I remember feeling and telling myself, this is exactly what you're supposed to be feeling and doing. So like, just let it out. It's okay. Like, it, you know, it's okay, right? And so that mixed up with the whole like, now I'm more connected, now I'm more grounded, now I feel more present, now I've experienced flow states that I have never even have been able to imagine before in my entire life. And now I'm no longer masking, and I didn't cry in this whole video. And you see, like, it's all, every journey I feel like is so different, of course, but I do feel like every single time you take time to invest in yourself, whether that is to feel, whether that is to regulate, whether that is to become more that observer, that consciousness, to step back and be like, okay, what is this that I'm feeling? And instead of just blindly reacting to how I'm feeling, like, oh, where is this coming from, right? How can I use this for my advantage, right? Because whenever that came up of like, all my birthdays always are not that great, it's like, well, how can I use this to my advantage? Now that I know this, how can I implement this? It's like, oh, just be aware of really intense emotions coming up and be ready to, right? So for me, it was meditate. Just be ready to meditate. Extra meditate. Meditate. Right? Just, you think you're done? Let's do some, like, no, keep going some more. And more. And more. Right? Just but it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. It was so beautiful. And I'm not going to go into the details of exactly. The whole purpose of this video is just to share the fact that every single birthday I've had up until this year has been, and again, because of Waterberg Mukbang, you already know I'm not going to talk negative, itivity, whatever, you know I'm trying to spell, into, I'm not going to speak into it. No. You already know, right? If you come from a background of cptsd, you already know how WORTHLLES, that's whatever you can feel. You already know how LOW you can feel. You already know how BAD feels. I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, like, no. A week before my birthday or so, I got this. All my birthdays, you know, it's like, okay, well, how do we use it to our advantage? Okay, just be mindful of intense emotions coming. The day before my birthday, intense emotions came, right? Like, I was sweating, like, it was just so intense, and it was like, okay, it's okay, get up, it's okay, just, right, breathe, it's okay, whatever you need, do it. Let's focus on that right now before we do anything else. There's nothing you have to do right now. Just focus on this right now. How about that, right? But I want to say the second biggest reason why this birthday was so amazing was because I was able to stay in a regulated, grounding state, which for me mostly came after I meditated, after I started to do conscious intention meditation. So I just want to share that you too can have an amazing birthday despite coming from horrible backgrounds. Yay! It's possible! Anything's possible. And so with that, I am going to leave this video, and I hope you have an amazing rest of the day. I love you so much, and I'll see you guys next time.